Tonight, a rare and sumptuous treat. TV megastars Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie are reunited, back together on screen for the first time in 15 years.
A little bit jittery, a little bit apprehensive. I'm looking forward to it. See the old codger.
You know, when you know someone really, really well, it means you never actually talk about things. So it's perfectly possible that my colleague will tell me something that he's never told me before that will make me go, well, why didn't you say that 30 years ago, you imbecile?
It's 30 years since the boys first met, and they're keen to recount their shared history.
There are a lot of times I want to go back and slap myself.
Well, I would also like to...
Slap me? You could have done.
Pull yourself together, man. You're getting hysterical.
It's true.
And to revel in each other's company.
No one else will...
Pipe, ladies and gentlemen, pipe, Exhibit A.
Comedy colleagues for years, best mates, and both now national treasures in their own right, we present 90 minutes in the company of Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, Reunited.
I understand the choice is yours. Sword or pistol?
Sword,
As you wish.
is the only weapon for a gentleman.
Just so. That means, Mr. Van Hoyle, that you have the pistol. Thank you, sir. Now, gentlemen, when you are both braced and ready, I shall drop...
No, wait a minute.
Who doesn't love Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie?
In fact, in the surveys I've done, exactly 50% of people in Britain would like to have Stephen living next door to them, and the other 50% of them would quite like to have Hugh.
A colossus bestrideth the great industry of biz that we call show.
Highly intelligent and completely ridiculous.
Damn, double damn, and an extra pint of damn for the weekend.
As a double act, they formed at the Cambridge Footlights, blossomed in TV classics Jeeves and Wooster and Blackadder, and flourished in their own highly influential TV series, A Bit of Fry and Laurie.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jackson.
They're so brilliant.
All right, so other men have got larger clubs.
They're so kind of untouchably amazing.
They didn't inspire us at all.
Stephen and Hugh may no longer be comedy partners, but they remain the very best of friends.
Yes, we do. We love each other. And did really pretty much from the beginning, I think.
One of the most fortunate things, really, is that for me as a gay man, is that I never fancied him. Although he's extremely good looking, which he is, and a lot of women could faint at the sight of him, fortunately, for some reason, that switch was never on with me and Hugh. And it would have been embarrassing if it had been, if you think about it, really.
When was the last time you could use the word homosexual in its proper context? Right. And it's such a lovely word. Oh, it's one of the great words. My word, Jane, I used to say to my wife. The garden's looking very homosexual this morning.
I just delight in the way his brain works.
Since they last appeared on TV together, they've each gone on to become international TV titans in their own right. Stephen as Renaissance man par excellence. If he's not writing bestsellers or acting or directing, he's making documentaries, or even finding time to indulge in more simple pleasures like watching darts.
Well, that's it. It's the treble 20 double four.
216! Yes!
It's there, so quick. I'm like a pig in Chardonnay, I tell you. I couldn't be happier.
He is a national treasure. We all love him. If something happens to him, we should stuff him and put him in the National Museum. He's brilliant, Steve is.
But since 2003, he's probably best known as the world's most erudite quizmaster.
I think Stephen has that gift. He makes everyone who watches his programme think that they're just, that little bit brighter for having heard what he had to say.
I think he's like a sort of Victorian, benign, philanthropic uncle.
Well, obviously, someone had to lose out. Hugh Laurie, what happened to him?
Well, amazingly enough, he's gone from spoofing global icons to becoming one himself, as the most watched TV star in the world, Dr. Gregory House.
I think he really did want to be, Clint Eastwood, and now he kind of is.
Please, Mr. Music, will you play?
But for all their phenomenal solo success, it's when they're together and bounce off each other that the fun really starts.
Do you know what I'd really just like, in a really sad, sort of nostalgic sort of way, I would just like to see them on telly together. I'd just like to see them next to each other again. Oh, I'll do it on this, see it on this, won't I?
Yes, you certainly will. Chatting, laughing and generally mucking about. Fry and Laurie, reunited.
Oh, he's not lost it.
Reunion day is upon us, and Stephen and Hugh are up with the dawn chorus to be whisked off to a mysterious but fittingly magnificent location.
Well, first of all, you very sweetly said, sorry, it's so early at 7 o'clock. Well, 7 o'clock for Americans isn't early. They work so ridiculously hard. So that's it. I go to work at 5 in the morning in a sort of windowless hangar for about 15 hours, and then I go home. That's about it. Not much of a story, really, is it? I need to embellish that somehow. I need to jazz that one up. Ask me that again in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, it's crazy.
One of the problems of being in television is that you have the evidence before your eyes that you were once younger and that you are now older. And 1 minute passes and then another minute, and if it keeps up at that rate, which it tends to do, suddenly 30 years have gone by, and it's faintly bewildering and a little bit upsetting, but rather charming too. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how this day develops as we chatter.
I have one big umbrella question, and that is, what the hell were you thinking? That'll set me on the right track to unearthing the real Stephen Fry. I just want to make it clear, though, to the readers and editors of the Daily Telegraph that I don't normally go to work in a chauffeur-driven BMW.
Welcome.
Their journeys may have ended, but ours have just begun, as Stephen and Hugh prepare to lift the lid on their personal stories.
So how did we meet them?
We met, as you well know, in a brothel in Bury. I think I made a girl laugh in a bar. So many stories start that way.
Oh dear, I didn't expect to get emotional remembering it, but it is, and because everything depended on it. I wouldn't have met Hugh. I wouldn't be sitting here now, I'm pretty sure.
Welcome back to Fry and Laurie Reunited. Gold's exclusive get-together of two of TV's brightest and biggest stars, as you've never seen them before.
Why isn't there someone around saying, don't do that,
We
Stephen?
never had that person.
We
never had that person, and I'm angry.
The tale of Fry and Laurie begins in Hampstead with the birth of baby Stephen in 1957, followed 2 years later by the arrival of baby Hugh in Oxford. Both boys attended boarding schools. Stephen went to Uppingham, where he was cited as being an asthmatic near genius, and Hugh attended Eton, where, as a teenager, he developed a passion for motorbikes and Monty Python.
Pythons were just immense.
Yes, gangs of old ladies attacking defenseless, fit young men.
To see a new Python show, that was a pretty great pleasure. But in a strange kind of way, an even greater pleasure was to buy the records and sit around with a group of friends and just play those sketches over and over and over again until you knew every breath. You know, whenever they would end a sketch with, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm going to have to shoot you. You could actually hear, if you listen carefully, which I did, you can hear the fuse burning on the cracker they used to make the gunshot sound. You hear a sort of bang. That's how well I got to know it.
I had a very stormy and deranged childhood and adolescence, which involved the expulsion from a number of schools, some of them expensive, and decreasing in expense as the despair increased. Eventually, I kind of ran away, I suppose is the only way I can put it. I was 17 and got myself into a dear old fix with credit cards and ended up in prison. So the idea of me going to university at that point was as remote as could be, but it is darkest just before the dawn, as they like to say, and I suppose hitting rock bottom was probably what I needed to do.
It was 1975 when Stephen, aged 18, served 3 months in prison for credit card fraud. Meanwhile, a 16-year-old Hugh was considering a career on the right side of the law, on the other side of the world, as a policeman.
The Hong Kong police, they were looking for good men and true to go and serve in the colony. And I suddenly fixed on this romantic idea of myself in a duffel coat and maybe short trousers. And I'd smoke a pipe and I'd be rather acerbic, but ultimately I'd have a heart of gold and I'd unite young lovers on the bridge or whatever it might be. And I got the brochures, and sure enough, the uniform was very smart. It was all shaping up well. And in actual fact, now I slightly regret not taking that course. I'll tell you why. 2001, was it? All those blokes who would have been in my position in the Hong Kong retired full pension at 35.
Stephen emerged from jail after 3 months a reformed man and enrolled in sixth form college, determined to gain a place at Cambridge.
I took the Cambridge entrance exam, and then there's the terrible period of waiting. And of course, I lived deep in the country, and the post didn't come till about 10:30 in the morning, which in those days was rare. Nowadays, of course, you're lucky to get the post at 3 in the afternoon. But after a week of waiting, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I said to my mother, I said, look, I'm going to go into Norwich. At lunchtime, I will be in, there's this coffee shop, it no longer exists in Norwich, which rejoices in the name Just John's Delicatique. So I went in at lunchtime and was, sipping my frothy coffee, and Just John himself came down and said, there's a phone for you, Steve. And it was my mother, and she said, darling. I said, oh, the post. Well, God, what? Have you opened it? She said, no, there's no post. I said, you can't call me up when there's no post. And the whole point, she said, no, it's a telegram. I said, telegram? Yes, I'll read it to you. Congratulations, awarded scholarship, Queen's College, senior tutor. I said, what? Read that again. I was crying, remembering it. So ridiculous. But it was such a turnaround from, this appalling thing. And my mother, of course, was bursting into tears because she was so proud and relieved after being such a nightmare child. It was a good moment. Anyway, oh dear, I didn't expect to get emotional remembering it, but it is. And because everything depended on it, I wouldn't have met Hugh. I wouldn't be sitting here now, I'm pretty sure. Cambridge is a remarkably beautiful town in its own right. It's got these incredible medieval colleges and on the river. It's just one of the most lyrical, ravishing sites architecturally in the world. And it's 800 years old, and many people who are heroes have passed through it. Wordsworth, Milton, Isaac Newton, Darwin. The list goes on and on and on.
Hugh had already been at Cambridge for a year by the time Stephen arrived in 1979, and while Stephen was determined to follow a dry life of books and learning, Hugh was dreaming of making a big splash in the world of rowing.
My father, who I admired hugely and tried to emulate in all kinds of ways, was a very remarkable athlete. He'd won a gold medal in the 1948 Olympics as an oarsman. And he'd gone to Cambridge. In that world, in the world of rowing, he was a bit of a superstar. And I actually imagined myself going on to row in the Olympics would have been my goal.
But Hugh had to forego his Olympic dreams at the tender age of 20 after a debilitating bout of glandular fever. Instead, he decided to join the Cambridge Footlights. For all its scientists and poets, the most famous Cambridge graduates of recent times have been the alumni of the Footlights Review. a veritable who's who of British comedy, including Pythons, Goodies, Fringes, Rhys-Joneses, Armstrongs and Millers, Mitchells and Webbers, and, of course, Germaine Greer.
I think people sometimes think that Footlights is a passport to instant fame and celebrity, but actually you've still got to be exceptionally good in a very, very crowded and talented field. So for every Mitchell and Webb, for example, or Fry and Laurie, you know, there are dozens and dozens of people who wanted to be that and haven't become that.
I think I made a girl laugh in a bar. So many stories start that way. That might be the title of my autobiography. I made a girl laugh in a bar, and she said, you're funny. She didn't say it like that. That might make her sound like an idiot. She wasn't an idiot. She's a very nice woman. She took me along. She said, you should go to the Footlights and you should audition. You'd enjoy that. So I went along. Footlights, I don't know what this is. And as I walked in, the first thing I saw were these walls and walls of photographs of all my heroes, essentially. I realized that I was in a hallowed space.
By the start of his final year, Hugh was Footlights president and looking for a writing partner. Luckily, Emma Thompson was on hand to make an introduction.
Me and Hugh and Stephen were all direct contemporaries at Cambridge, so we all arrived at exactly the same time. Yes, I mean, they would have met probably 5 minutes later anyway, but I like to think of myself as having been entirely responsible for the whole Fry-Laurie phenomenon. But of course they would have met because they were destined always to be friends.
Destiny or not, how they actually did meet in the autumn of 1980 makes for a very confusing tale. Or tales.
Again, I made a woman laugh in a bar. Emma Thompson, who I'd acted with in some Footlights shows by then, and she recommended that I meet Stephen.
So I'm in my rooms at Cambridge, and Emma comes round one evening. I want you to meet Hugh Laurie. I said, OK. So we walked up towards Selwyn, his college, knocked on the door, and his girlfriend Katie answered.
I think we met in his room or rooms in Queens, A2.
And Katie said, do you want a glass of wine or a cup of coffee? And I said, yes.
Yeah, I seem to remember him making tea and crumpets, which was a very sort of adult, fusty sort of thing to do.
And he was sitting on a bed with a guitar.
He wore tweed jackets and smoked a pipe, can you believe? By the way, kids, no, not until you've made Foreign Secretary, at least, should you even contemplate smoking a pipe. That would be my advice.
And Hugh said, I've written a song. And you played the song.
We played chess. A very, very strong chess player.
And he said, what do you think? I said, brilliant. I said, oh, good. I put his guitar down. I remember him explaining that he'd paid about £5 for it. It came from Woolworths.
Absolute.
It was just amazing.
The guitar didn't come from Woolworths. It was a Yamaha guitar. Still got it, actually, £75.
Every time anyone gave him a more expensive or better guitar, he didn't like it as much as this Woolworths guitar.
Now I doubt everything he's ever said to me.
It was a most extraordinary thing. It was a wonderful fortune that we met.
Should we check into this whole prison thing? There's a governor somewhere of a Borstal. Someone said, no, there's been no Fry here. I've been through the records. What? Really? But he's written whole autobiographies about it. He's talked about it on Wogan, for God's sake. It's a matter of national record. Nope, never here. Good luck trying to stitch that together. Because that doesn't...
What isn't in dispute is the impact that Stephen and Hugh's meeting had on the Footlights, and on one fellow Footlighter in particular.
Hello, my name is Tony Slattery. I'm 50. I used to be at Cambridge, and there I met Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie and Emma Thompson, and I fell in with them, and my life changed. I remember that first meeting with Stephen and Hugh in their room, and I was very nervous. I knew Stephen a bit before, but I'd never met Hugh before. And Hugh said, would you like some tea? And I said nervously, yes. And there was a long pause, and Stephen said, in Footlights, Tony, we say yes, please. No, it's just lovely to be... I haven't been back here for a while, and I remember my time with them as a really charmed, lovely time, and I get quite nostalgic about it. Hello! I know all of them. They're all my children, because they were wild times.
The Footlights were busy putting together a new show for the 1981 Edinburgh Festival. The Sellotapes was destined to become a classic revue show, and a huge part of this was down to the contribution of Stephen and Hugh.
And it was a democratic process, but Stephen and Hugh were always understood, and quite rightly so, to be the eminence grise, and so we did defer to them out of their experience and talent.
It's basically the Stephen and Hugh show.
So it's a play. One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
They were quite a formidable force, both kind of in their opinions, and, also they were so good that it was difficult to give everybody else in the Sellotapes a fair crack of the whip.
One word!
I certainly sort of felt, I would feel intimidated about kind of giving in, a sketch idea. And Emma did too, which was kind of why it was so brilliant that Emma ended up getting, the Oscar for screenwriting, which was, just kind of, yes.
And so began a little bit of comedy history. Come the summer of '81, Stephen, Hugh and the rest of the Footlights were ready to take the Sellotapes to the Edinburgh Festival, where they won the first ever Perrier Comedy Award, presented by Mr. Bean.
Their Cambridge Footlights was the great revue certainly of its decade. Probably the best Footlights revue since John Cleese's revue in '63. So right from the start, before they were 21, they were already destined for fame.
Which is as good a time as any to bring Mr. Fry and Mr. Laurie back together to chat about it all.
Found to be hilarious.
While the urge to cue a fanfare is considerable, let's reunite them with a bit of prophetic TV magic.
Find some tissues in the drawer there. Good evening and welcome to another packed half hour of misery and abject desperation. A catalogue of cynicism and emptiness, and the whole ottoman full of vapid excuses. A colleague would like to add something.
Tar. Yes, I'd just like to say a big hello to historians of the future who may be looking at this show as part of a higher education course in the year 2010 entitled Britain. Just what the bloody hell went wrong.
That's probably enough wandering and talking to the camera for now. In the words of the Emperor Hadrian, let's expose some light-sensitive magnetic tape, and let's do it now. Macaulay. After me.
Oh, look, here we are. 2010.
Yes.
We made it.
Bracing, isn't it? And a beautifully prepared conversation pit.
It is. Let's hope it works. It's been brought to my attention that we have varying accounts of how we actually met.
This is what I understand.
So how did we meet then?
We met, as you well know, in a brothel. No, we met in your room in A2, which is also the road, the Folkestone Road.
No, because Emma...
It's more worrying for you because you've just written an autobiography.
I've got it all wrong.
If the very first thing is wrong...
But my memory is good for things that happen, facts.
But when it comes to people...
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing.
Because I just don't care.
Hang on to your hats. Plenty more chattering and chortling on its way.
People are often mistaking me for Luther Vandross.
And I started with the hat. For me, the hat told me what to say.
The key to the character, the hat speaks to you. The hat speaks your line.
It actually spoke my line.
Really beautiful story. Are we getting all of this? Are we getting this?
Welcome back to a gold exclusive and all access pass to the lovely inner world of Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie.
That makes no sense. No sense.
No, it's
The story so far. Stephen and Hugh were born in the late 50s, met at the Cambridge Footlights, went to Edinburgh to win their first Perrier Award, and were offered their very first TV show to be made in Manchester.
So we went to Manchester, to Granadaland. Do you remember that?
Do I remember Manchester?
Yes.
Bleak, miserable, I hated it. That's not true. That's not true at all. It's a very happy place.
But no, they were.
Yeah,
Really...
They were good, happy times. The show, on the other hand, well, it had its good moments, but it was spotty.
It was very spotty.
Oh, splendid. Carry on. Bless my lordy, there's a hell of a theatrical effect going on out there.
The spotty show in question was called Al Fresco because it was predominantly shot on location.
General, the conditions I have seen in your camp are truly appalling.
Well, I'm sorry, Miss Nightingale, but those are my conditions, and you'll just have to accept them.
Stephen, Hugh and Emma were joined by Robbie Coltrane, Ben Elton and Siobhan Redmond to make up one of the most talented ensembles in comedy history. In theory.
Often, it happens a lot in TV. They say, look, someone executive will say, we've got these funny people and this funny person, and we need a woman, we'll get this funny woman and this person here, and we'll put them all together, and that will be a show. But it's not unless you've got some kind of guiding hand behind it or some kind of philosophy behind it.
I think in order to see Al Fresco these days, you have to get on disreputable airlines, mostly in the middle of Russia, as far as I know. It's not an easy thing to get hold of.
So there's Al Fresco, which, let's be honest, was not a great success. It didn't make an impact in the world at the same time that The Young Ones was going on, which had just exploded, and we were nowhere. I mean, we were not being recognised in the street, not that was the purpose for doing it, but it is at least that is an index of penetration, as it were. We certainly hadn't done that.
We didn't penetrate. We didn't penetrate the market, Stephen, is what I'm saying.
We didn't.
We set out for market penetration.
Yeah.
We fell short of our targets by some 30 percentage points.
Come year end, we improved our market position.
Yeah.
And we had another chance to release a new product into that marketplace when the BBC asked us if we wanted to do a pilot show.
We were both very proud of it.
We liked it. We did. We thought it was good.
Come with us now as we take a look through the crystal cube.
Fry and Laurie were still only in their mid-20s. Hugh's American accent was in its infancy, and the crystal cube didn't make it beyond the pilot episode.
The sperm, he's the little tadpoley fellow on the right there, is literally brimful of information which he takes along to Mrs. Egg, or Miss Egg, because goodness knows this is the 20th century.
Yes, it was the 20th century, 1983 to be precise. Margaret Thatcher was in power and comedy was going alternative.
I actually played golf with Jimmy Tarbuck. Well, I creep through the bushes and try and club him to death, you know.
It was a comedy that had a manifesto that said we're here to do non-sexist, non-racist stuff. And Stephen and Hugh looked, at least on the face of it, like they were a bit of a throwback.
On the surface, Stephen and Hugh were the antithesis of the alternative scene. Yet they embraced the opportunity to appear on TV's groundbreaking alternative comedy, The Young Ones.
We'd done an episode of The Young Ones as well, hadn't we?
We had.
Which kind of almost made manifest the deep insecurities and we had, that we were the sort of snobby public school...
Silver spoon.
Now, I'll have to hurry you. Who is the richest person in the world?
Footlights snot. It's me, isn't it?
No, I'm afraid not. Your father's multinational collapsed only this morning.
And they were literally above us, and they kicked through to us, and it was like a living representation of what their comedy was doing to the old guard.
Achtung! It's not an automatic.
The comedy establishment may have been blowing up all around them, but our privileged pair managed to dodge the missiles, and in 1985 they joined the cast of Channel 4's anarchic Saturday Live.
So, yeah, you take those. Flick through my question card.
Pressure of live television, question mark. You can tell, as you know, they're not formed as actual questions. They're just sort of pointers, and I'm...
Right, bullet points.
Yeah, bullet points, exactly. Yeah. First night, pressure of live television. Problems?
Well...
I didn't put a verb in there.
No, you didn't.
Would you like me to put a verb in there? I've got a couple. I think the verbs are at the back. What? Okay.
Well,
the scenario I'm going to put to you is music. Having to sing on live television.
That's it. How, talking of painting into a corner, how did I allow myself to be painted by you into a corner?
You weaver of words.
In such a way that we ended up with a sketch that had to have me singing in it.
I'm cocked high.
You are?
Yes. I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm feeling frothy.
Right.
And I'm ready.
And it was beginning to tear me up, and you could see that I was in real discomfort. And I think it was your suggestion that I went to see a hypnotist.
Yes. I thought that it would be a test. If it really was bothering you, you would do it, and if it wasn't so bad, you probably wouldn't, but you did.
You know, I went to see this chap. He was Hungarian, rather pleasingly. I don't know why it's pleasing, but it was...
Ideal.
Yeah, somehow.
They make such good hypnotists.
They do, don't they?
Nobody knows why.
They do. I'm suggesting that your hands may be on your knees, and they are becoming inside your knees. They're melting into your knees. You know. He said, "What is the cue for you to sing?" And I said, "Well, it's when my partner says, 'Hit it, bitch.'" And he said, "So you are hearing the words 'hit it, bitch,' and you are relaxed. You're like in the shower at home, you can sing, you can open your, to constrict it and all this." I have never seen the sketch. So whether or not I could actually sing...
It worked.
Play it. What is it? I said play it, bitch. Oh. You better look out for me, baby. You better keep right out of sight. You better look out for me, baby. You better look right out of sight. 'Cause I'm going to have some fun now. I won't be back till late tonight.
It wasn't just the singing, I'll be honest. What was
coming in on time.
It was, coming in on time and finishing within a minute of the music finishing. Sort of even vaguely within a minute. I mean, sometimes you were sort of a verse out too fast, a verse too slow.
You see? Thank you very much. Good night.
Stephen and Hugh had been flirting with mainstream success for 3 years now.
You'll be happy to know that your nipples are fine. Good! Yeah, look, you can have a look for yourself. Nothing wrong with them?
But by 1986, they were about to hit the jackpot.
I think, like most schoolboys, my first contact with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie was Blackadder. Hugh Laurie wasn't as prominent in that series, was he? But then he obviously came in on the third series of Blackadder as the Prince Regent.
Hurrah!
And just was wonderful, just so fantastic.
Guess what I've been doing?
Beagling, sir?
Now, look, here's a good subject. This has got ticks by it, and marks and sort of arrows and things, circles around it, in many, many colours. Joy of hitting Hugh, question mark.
Well.
Now, this, I think, it begins possibly with the Blackadder scene, in which you're playing the Duke of Wellington.
Oh, yes,
and you
that's
get
right.
to clout me
Lots of times, as does Rowan, yeah.
Get up! Oh, Christ, yes, I forgot.
You speak when you're spoken to! Unless you'd rather be flayed across a gun carriage? Well...
The thing that's made me laugh and laugh was when Stephen was really cruel to Hugh in Blackadder.
Why, I hardly touched the man.
I think you hit him very hard.
Nonsense! That would have been a hard hit. I just hit him like that.
I think there was something in that released probably something that Stephen had been longing to do for years. To Hugh, which was just belt him one.
Tea!
What's it like hitting me? It's not something I've ever done.
Hugh, I don't know about you, but I do quite a lot of outreach amongst the young. I take comedy classes, and I always tell my pupils that it's much easier to hit than to be hit. And you are just very good at being hit.
I remember doing that sketch on Friar Laurie. Yes, all right, we're not getting out of order. I'm going to come back. Yeah. But a football coach coaching children on how to...
in Duquesne Road, just by the Winwood Scrubs. Yeah.
On a penalty out of the referee and how to fall over.
Nice and loose in the neck. As you get into the box, a lot of height, goes like this, OK?
One of those falls, I actually thought I'd broken my neck. I hit the ground, and there's a moment where I go, oh, that's it, I'm never going to walk again.
Nice and loose in the neck, and...
You just can do that thing. I can't even dive into water. The other thing is there's something about you that... I don't mean makes me want to bully you, but you do the mournful-eyed thing. It's just very funny. And for some reason, hitting me wouldn't be funny, probably because people really want to do that.
Hittable, people want
No, because they don't, that's the point, because you're lovable.
Because I tell my outreach classes, yes, please stop hitting me.
With the success of Saturday Live and Blackadder, Stephen and Hugh were in a position to buy a house together in the heart of London's East End.
Wait a second, it says here that we live together.
Yes.
Now, how did that come about?
Well, because two can live more cheaply than one, and three can live even more cheaply than two. or one. That came out wrong.
And I imagine there were many... I don't imagine it, because I was there.
I was kidding. Many...
I dimly remember... No, well, I don't dimly remember. Imagine I'm not here. Imagine I'm someone else.
What a chat show host the world lost.
Imagine I am Valerie Singleton.
That's all too easy.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Were there long whiskey-soaked evenings of uproarious laughter and satirical badinage going on into the small hours?
I did think there were, but unfortunately, as you probably remember, I discovered computers by that time.
So that's a no.
I was upstairs in my room with my computer.
Right, no, okay.
No, not a no. No, of course there were. It was good fun.
Yeah.
Then we bought a house. We each bought a share in the house in Dalston, didn't we? And there is a comedy thing about that.
Stephen, I'd like you to tell me what the comedy thing about that house in Dalston is. St Mark's Rise. St Mark... Don't say the address.
People will now go and mug
the address, because now a really mad person with a crossbow is going to go round to that house. And the perfectly innocent people who live there, trying to make their lives in Dalston,
will be pinned...
Get a bolt through the curtains.
St Sebastian.
Okay.
Okay, so wherever it was. Somewhere
Wherever
in Dalston.
it was.
Somewhere in Dalston. We got some decorators in, if you remember. There was one called Martin, who was really very good, but then there was a fellow called Paul and a fellow called Charlie, who were general plasterers and renders and skimmers and painters and...
Plasterers with a small p.
Now, Paul and Charlie were very funny, which is not... I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of funny builders, but they really were very funny, weren't they?
Yes, they were. No, they were. No, but this is the thing. They were so funny that it actually made me think, well, either they're really, really funny, or I'm just simply not, and I ought to now go looking for some alter...
I know what you mean.
I should probably become a plasterer.
It was very kind of them to say that they thought we were the funny ones, but... That wasn't how it felt from where we were.
No,
painting their walls.
You've never been funny, have you?
No, never have. We were there, sort of, as we were painting, trying to do little comedy routines to each other and do funny characters.
No, but we always did. No, we always did anyway. Anyway, wasn't it?
We did go up to 11 there in the hope that they might say, "Well, why don't you come onto one of our shows?"
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. You think, well, we are supposedly in television, or at least we've got our feet in the shallow end, and our plasterers are funnier than we are, and so confident and making characters. It was just extraordinary.
Yeah, it was very annoying.
We did overdo it there, probably, and probably even tried to sell them some sketch ideas, didn't we?
I can't remember.
Stephen would always be, very funny, yes, very good.
And interesting little footnote to history.
Yeah.
What happened? Paul Whitehouse, Jolly Higson. What did they do? Where did they live? Where did they live?
They bought our house.
They bought the house.
The very house that they decorated.
bought the house that they...
It all came full.
It's like a big, and in one circular, a little bit like or even a...
ovulation. Not really an ovulation. That's not the word I meant.
We can probably get out before you said ovulation.
Put the scissors in. Yeah.
After we moved out, the mighty Bush moved in, didn't they?
That's right, yeah, and they're still there to this day, laying eggs.
And the League of Gentlemen live in the basement.
No, it's
10, 9, 8...
Oh,
you must have to change a... Do you have to change a thing? Or are you just not recording anything? Is this all for tax reasons? We're just actually... There's no... Right, okay. Okay, great. I think we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Let's shoot one.
Welcome back. They say opposites attract, and the same is often true of double acts. Even Hugh and Stephen are cut of very different cloth.
That's me what's happening there.
No, that's
Kings Road 70s pop. Is what you'd call it, I'm afraid.
Generally speaking, he is a more commonly optimistic person than I am, and he would he has a sort of well, what's the worst that can happen sort of approach to life, which I wish I could have, because if someone ever asks me that question, what's the worst that can happen, I can then speak for a couple of hours. You're not leaving the room, because I've got a lot to tell you.
I can't help it, but whenever I smile, it looks smug and I look complacent. So I'm the very opposite of Hugh. Hugh looks pissed off. People go to a party and they say, "What's wrong with you? What have I done to offend him? What's wrong with him?" I go, no, that's just how he looks. He just looks hangdog and pissed off, but it's fine, don't worry. Whereas people probably go to a party and think, "What's Steve looking so pleased about?" And in fact, I'll be crying inside and be miserable, but it looks smug.
Doing one of those repeats, I suppose, are you? Filming more of those repeats. I suppose this is what I pay my licence fee for, is it? Keep you lot in jeans and heroin.
So, how did A Bit of Fry and Laurie come about?
Well, again, I think it was the nice BBC people gave us another chance, if you like.
Well, it's what they're there for, isn't it?
This time we felt we really... This would be our last chance to crack, if that's the right word, or at least to have a proper go at sketch comedy.
Stephen and Hugh were acutely aware that all their graft for the past 5 years had been leading up to this point and weren't going to take any chances.
Yes, so we spent a month in Crete writing sketches. Why Crete?
I didn't know.
No reason. Pin in the map.
Basically, it was a pin in the map, but I do
Could have been Basingstoke.
Nice little sort of village type thing over a cliff. And you thrashed me at backgammon every bloody evening. And I owe you £17 million, I believe.
No. That would be silly.
Yes.
You owe me £1.5 million.
Oh, of course. That's fine, then.
Stephen Fry has an unpaid gambling debt of £1.5 million.
It was. You just cracked me completely. It was. And the harder I tried, the more sweaty.
He was broken. He was right there. I had him right there.
But in between gambling and ouzo guzzling, the pair were also writing. Lots. Stephen and Hugh had crafted the scripts for what was to become one of the most influential comedy series of recent times, A Bit of Fry and Laurie.
Oh, this is one of them hidden camera things, is it? No? Oh, well, because I was going to say, it's not very well hidden, is it?
The really exciting thing was about Fry and Laurie is you thought, oh, right, they've got this now, they've got this down.
The chicken, it's still alive. Not for much longer, sir.
I think I'm going to be sick.
They were suddenly very, very confident about what they were doing, and they felt like they'd mastered their own way of doing it, and it just worked a dream, you know. And it was a platform for them to do anything they wanted, you know.
Running for 4 series between 1987 and 1995, A Bit of Fry and Laurie is now considered a masterclass in sketch comedy.
Proper belly-laughingly funny.
With its potent mix of wordplay...
Darling, I want you to pass the marmalade. You want me to fart the hit parade? Pass the marmalade!
Music.
Time, where did you go? That's all I had time for, I'm afraid.
And violence. A bit of Fry and Laurie was unlike anything else on TV.
My dear boy!
Now, there was a sketch in which we play a couple of Sweeney detectives.
Oh, yeah, Mrs. Popey.
Mrs. Popey.
Mrs. Catherine Popey.
Yes! Oh, who are you?
Sorry to disturb you, madam. We're making some routine door-to-door inquiries in the neighbourhood. And we wondered if we might come in.
Finished.
And we're after Mrs. Popey's son, who we think may be guilty of some
That's right.
misdemeanour of some kind.
Yeah. And she says he's asleep upstairs.
He's asleep upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A likely story. Giving us the proper runaround.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, do you remember who played Mrs. Popey's son?
This is my son, William.
I do. His name was Charles Laurie, your son, Charlie, your firstborn, and my godson. And he was as good as gold, asleep upstairs, waiting.
He was. Well, we assumed that he would be awake when he came onto the set, but actually, while waiting, he fell asleep, bless him. And so when he was brought on in the bright lights and the pair of us shouted...
I had to shout at him. We both shouted.
We both shouted.
Yeah.
Well, you've been a bit of a naughty boy, William, haven't you?
Ask him what he's done with the stuff.
Yeah, what have you done with the stuff?
Scumbag!
And then, as a result of that, I got a huge number of letters from people with very odd ideas. It's quite plain that you were using needles to provoke this reaction. What's in your head that you would think that anybody could stick needles? So strange.
One of the things about the way we worked was a sort of pride and a mad, stubborn, stiff-necked insistence that every sketch was a new and original sketch, which, of course, most sketch comedy is. So we didn't have, in the way that the Fast Show does, and almost all sketch shows these days, have standard characters that you basically wrote the same sketch about. I mean, you know, and it's not criticism. Well, it sort of is, but... A little bit. But, I mean, they're funny. I mean, they're great.
Oh, they're funny. That's not the problem. No. I mean, not that there's a problem.
Our problem was we didn't see the virtue of doing that. We only very rarely had returning characters.
Yeah.
So every time we'd written a sketch, no matter how good it was, we were back to square one again.
Yeah,
we had to
there's
start
no momentum
again.
inside.
No momentum.
Damn it, Peter, you're right.
The notable exception to this was Peter and John, the small-time businessmen who talked big and drank bigger.
John, are you out of your goddamn mind?
You don't know what it's about, Peter.
What the hell with what it's about, John?
Peter, we need to talk.
Where and when?
Round the table right now.
I'm on my way.
You don't dislike them. You want to dislike them, but you can't. You kind of end up these arses. These men are arses, but charming. It's quite brilliant, that, isn't it?
Damn it, John, you're not listening to me. I'm talking about the big idea, the dream that you and I shared. The dream of a health club that would put the town of Utoxeter on the goddamn map.
There's this thing about, Hugh, that would be me, music.
Yes.
You can skip over this if you want.
No, come on. You did. I mean, it was one of the features of it. Pythons had Terry Gilliam, and we too had you, as it were. I mean, you know, it just made every difference. And some of the songs you wrote for that, Mystery is still... You've done that since, haven't you? Many times. It is a fabulous song.
Mystery. All my life has been a mystery. You and I were never ever meant to be.
I don't think people realise that the musical pastiches on Fry and Laurie are all written by Hugh Laurie. Amazing stuff.
Estuary. I live in a houseboat on an estuary.
I would describe Hugh as, I suppose, a quiet genius. He plays the piano brilliantly, which he's very shy about, but he really is great.
America.
I suppose they'll be saying Hitler was a racist next.
I walked into a shop the other day. 14 stitches.
Do you remember where the idea of Vox Pops came from?
No, I don't. I suppose we were aware of the need for something just fast, silly, little one-jokey things...
Interstitials, I believe they're called.
Are they called interstitials? That's a good word for them.
Well, we had our first child on the NHS. And had to wait 9 months. Can you believe it?
A week or two before we started the rehearse record procedure, we'd go onto the street, wouldn't we? And often we just made up as we went along.
Well, because we had a lot of other stuff to write, so we got behind.
And I started with a hat. People are often mistaking me for Luther Vandross. For me, the hat told me what to say.
Key to the character, the hat speaks to you. The hat speaks your line.
It actually spoke my lines.
Really beautiful story. Yeah. Are we getting it? Are we getting this?
Can't seem to find a flush or a hand.
So that's your process.
Yes, and with you?
I would start with your hat. Yes.
£20. So I said, I'll toss you for it. And he said, what would you do for 50?
How much importance do you think we placed on names, on rude names, frankly, rude names? Do you get pleasure in rude names?
Oh, yes.
For example, Mr. Come in My Ear, Mr. Nipple, Mr. Pepperdine, Mr. Popey, Mr. Drip, Dr. Midgery Marjorie. Doctors are always good.
Yes.
Chief Inspector Venice, I don't remember that.
For instance, we've got a letter here. Dear Mr. Fry and Laurie, there is a man who comes to wash my windows once a month whose name is Javillian Swike. It always makes me laugh a great deal. That was sent in by Mr. Suckmaster Bursting Foam of Ipswich.
They're the masters of kind of broadcasting guideline loopholes, aren't they?
All right, so other men have got larger plums, salaries and better prospects, and other men can boast a healthier-looking stool.
See, watch any of those sketches and you just have to love the English language.
Let's face it, we haven't slept together for years. You know, the best I can hope for is a bit of savoury finger.
And the barman sketch in which Stephen keeps offering a drunk increasingly odd and stupid nibbles to eat illustrates, A, how rich the English language is.
And naturally, she won't let me give her so much as a good juicy tongue in the back passage.
And B, how much Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie just adored it.
The trouble with that woman is that she's just a
rather disgusting-looking tart that should have been disposed of ages ago.
But so much of their humour is actually filth, isn't it? It's the lowest common denominator.
It's always been...
Toilet nonsense.
It's always been...
It's all moist, hard, poo, bottoms. You know, I don't think he's that clever.
A friendship like Stephen and Hugh's that's endured 30 years is rare. But as Stephen recalls, there was once one tricky episode.
Hugh and I were writing, and we write every day. Monday to Friday, and we'd give ourselves the weekend off. Well, I was asked if I would present a documentary on the chess Olympiad in Thessalonica, Greece. And it was great because it was only 4 days. It was Friday to Monday. So I for some reason said to Hugh, I can't make Friday because I've got something or other. Anyway, the point is he found out. He found out that what I was actually doing was flying to Greece and making a documentary and coming back on Monday night. And so basically it was a long weekend off the writing, the Friday and the Monday. It was not that big a deal. But it was, as parents say to their children, it was the fact that you lied. So he was furious. But it had an upside because it was a letter when I got back that was saying, and it said, because it's as if you don't realise how much I love you. He said, he used that word, and I thought, it's so un-Hugh to talk like that. Men don't talk like that to each other. But so it was actually a rather wonderful breakthrough in a way, because it was sweet.
As the story moves to the present day, a recent point of difference is Stephen and Hugh's contrasting attitudes to technology.
He's possibly the worst email correspondent in the history of the planet. I probably myself deal with 10 or 20 emails a week, which are, why won't Hugh answer my emails from other people who are close friends of his, like, what's the matter? Have I offended you? No, you haven't offended him. You haven't offended him. He doesn't, you'll get one, don't worry.
If he ever asks you to come and look at a computer screen while he shows you something, I'm saying to you now, run for your life.
He's not made for this modern world of constant communication. I mean, he has a smartphone, he has a BlackBerry, and he uses it. But I don't know what he uses it for, because it's certainly not to email anyone I know.
1995 marked the end of a 3-year break from their sketch show. In the meantime, Stephen and Hugh had become household names after starring in the very popular primetime series Jeeves and Wooster.
Right, well, I'm getting back into that sitting room now, Jeeves, and I'm going to put in some pretty tense thinking.
Very good, sir. Shall I wake you at 6, sir?
Yes. No, Jeeves.
I don't think anybody could do Jeeves and Wooster still now. It just completely defines our take on those books now.
47 ginger-headed sailors coming home across the briny sea. When the anchor's weighed and the journey's made, yes, they'll stop the party with a heave-ho-me-hearty.
It was kind of an opportunity that was too good to miss, really. It was sort of like the parts they were, I suppose, at that point, born to play.
Really speaks to me, that song, you know, Jeeves.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir.
Would you like to hear the rest of it?
I shouldn't like to put you to any trouble, sir.
Between desire and reality.
A bit.
Between fact and breakfast.
Now they were A-list stars, the BBC decided it was time to revive A Bit of Fry and Laurie and move it to mainstream BBC One.
Pretension by Fry and Laurie.
Fourth series of A Bit... I've got to stop doing that, because that's really annoying. Now, the fourth series of A Bit of Fry and Laurie moved to BBC One. What differences did that make manifest?
Guestage.
I hereby declare this second episode of A Bit of Fry and Laurie open.
Yes, that was Madge from Neighbours. And look, here's one very young Caroline Quentin.
Jesus, suffering arse, this bloody door!
I don't understand.
Don't understand? Don't understand what, you hopeless saucer of pus? It's a freak mothering door, and it keeps getting vomiting stuck. That's all there is to understand. It's not differential calculus.
Andrew!
How have you done, you pointless tart? You've broken the snotting banisters.
I was so thrilled. I was hugely honoured and actually rather out of my depth. And I remember the whole time thinking, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Sorry.
Sorry?
Yes. Sorry I didn't hit you with a sock full of gravel, you flabby, drivelling waste of clothes.
And then realising that actually when we were filming, what I was doing there was basically laughing all the time.
Wendy, darling!
Wendy, darling! I'll darling your arse with a rusty lawn sprinkler.
You had to hold my head in his hands and shake my head like that. And I just remember thinking, I'm so clearly not doing the character I'm meant to be doing. I'm so clearly just Caroline really laughing at you, Laurie.
Now, Wendy, do you see? Do you understand what's happened?
Oh, Andrew, I feel such a fool.
It was heaven, the whole thing. It was a fantastic, fantastic day.
Do you remember the sketch Don't Be Dirty?
Oh, don't be dirty.
Don't be dirty.
Don't be dirty. No, you were dirty.
Oh, you were almost a goner there.
You don't go home empty-headed.
Johnny, I'd like you to start first. Would you describe for us, Johnny, please, the act of fellatio? That's the act, Johnny, of fellatio without, Johnny, and I'm sure you must know the rules by now, without being dirty. And your time starts 5 seconds ago.
This is an act that takes place between two people, possibly of opposite sexes, but possibly not.
Careful, Tony.
Whereby one of the participants takes a part of the other participant's person into the place where they might more commonly keep bubble gum, say, and proceeds to masticate.
Oh, Tony, I thought you were a goner there.
Countdown, too. I enjoyed that. We did a countdown
Well,
sketch.
see, a very good impressionist. People don't realise what a good impressionist you are. And another consonant, please, Carol.
Right. Your countdown starts now.
But I watched that countdown sketch recently, as I watch our sketches almost nightly.
Alone with just a pair of leather briefs.
With a bottle of gin. I remember thinking, my God, that's a good impression of Richard Whiteley.
And then you watched it again and realised it wasn't.
No. The impression strengthened with every viewing, of which there was one.
Good. That's very interesting. So 4 each. What's your 4 Simon Fest?
Lobs.
Lobs. So, lobs. Right. Meaning lobs, I suppose. Right. Well, let me lob it over to you, Liz. And that's what you've got for your 4.
Look.
Right, look. I think we can allow that. No need to look that one up in the dictionary.
The last episode of A Bit of Fry and Laurie was screened in April 1995, and the two friends have not collaborated on TV since.
Why did the series come to an end?
Well, we get into murky waters here, Watson, because this is 95. In February 95, I had a slight kind of brainstorm and was supposed to be in a play and walked out and went to, as you well remember, to Europe, and you were extremely kind and good and instrumental in calming me down and getting me back and it all being okay. But that had coincided with the play, with Fry and Laurie being aired, and so I had a sort of bit of life reordering to do, I suppose you could say.
In February 1995, shortly after recording the last series of Fry and Laurie, Stephen suffered a breakdown and, for a while, withdrew from public life. But in 1997, Stephen made a triumphant return with his lead role in the film Wild. And he continued to broaden out from comedy at a relentless pace, with an array of more serious work including books, films and documentaries.
He's a yes-sayer. I mean, that's one of the reasons I admire him. I admire it. By God, I owe it a lot. But I wish he wouldn't put himself about so much.
Hugh is a man of purity, and I am a shameless whore.
I wish for his sake that he would do that less. I think he does too.
He even turned his breakdown into a positive with a BAFTA award-winning series.
It's fantastic to know that you're not alone, and that not only are you not alone, but someone that successful, and erudite and apparently even-keeled also has this problem.
Hugh also diversified from comedy into drama roles, including an early brief appearance in The Bill.
So why does it say in the custody record that you made a visit to Mr. Smith in his cell at 10:16 p.m?
Since then, he's been catapulted via family films to Hollywood stardom.
Like many, a huge number of people who do comedy are brilliant actors. There's no one here. But it's very easy to get stuck doing just comedy. So I suppose for you doing something, that's all right, mate. For you, doing something like The Bill was, they say, well, look, I can do other things. I can do policeman. I could probably even do a doctor if asked. And someone did. And he wrote a book as well.
I'm doing one, a new Doctor, Council House. Low budget English version. Yeah.
I'll ask you about House. Give me the card. House. How did you get the part? I mean, one hears all these rumours, but something to do with a bathroom in Namibia.
I put myself on tape. And that, yes, I did record that piece of tape in a bathroom because it was the only place that had enough light. The camera wouldn't... So I think I was sitting on the lavatory, actually.
Your billings are virtually non-existent.
Rough year.
You ignore requests for your consults.
I call back. Sometimes I misdial.
You're 6 years behind in your obligations to the clinic.
You see? I was right. This does not interest me.
So you're sitting on the loo, as you have done as House in subsequent episodes.
I have, and in real life.
Have you had experience in that? It was resolutely written for an American.
Yeah.
And you were resolutely not American. So, I mean, now it seems to be quite commonplace for British actors to get cast in American shows.
The only one I could think of was Jane Seymour, I think.
Oh, yes, Dr. Quinn, yeah.
Yes, so I sort of, in so many areas of my life, I'm
you are
myself.
Oh,
Jane Seymour. Yeah.
I can still fire you if you're not doing your job.
I'm here from 9 to 5.
Your billings are practically non-existent.
Rough year.
You ignore requests for consults.
I call back sometimes
You're
out of style.
6 years behind on your obligation
See,
to this clinic.
I was right. This doesn't interest me.
I think I'm right in saying, I've read it several times, but it doesn't mean it's right, that it is the most successful television show in the world. I love the shows, and you are astonishing in it. But it's given you a level of international fame that is quite beyond anything you'd ever had before. And oddly enough, as I say, less here. If you were in Madrid or Paris, you'd be in trouble. You'd need security.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes,
really?
That's very odd.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I told you, I'm finished, done away with at last. Period, no more, full stop, the end, full period.
I think he really did want to be, Clint Eastwood, and now he kind of is. They've both grown into the figures they were parodying. I mean, Stephen into the sort of tweedy schoolmaster, a QI.
I've read it, Terry. I can't pretend to be much of a judge of poetry. I'm an English teacher, not a homosexual. But,
And Hugh into the kind of cool leading man.
They've done well, haven't they, these two guys?
Damn it, John, I do believe you're scared.
You're damn right I'm scared.
As their former headmaster, I'm very, very pleased with the progress the boys have made. I mean, they were very nice young men, and now they're very nice elderly men.
I can see their influence everywhere. They are the alpha and omega of the whole thing.
I don't know what their plans are, with those two. Anything could happen, couldn't it? Anything could happen now for either of them.
We never decided not to do another Fry and Laurie, did we?
The case is still open.
Yeah, we'd still, whenever we talk about these things, we say we'd still want to work together and do things.
In fact, would this be a good time to announce that we're
we're going to leave you with tonight's cocktail recipe, a slow snog with a distant relative. For this, you'll need 3 measures brandy, 2 of dark rum, 1 of white gin, 1 of yellow, a spoonful of crushed sugar puffs, 2 hard-boiled eggs, and an open-toed sandal. Size 9, if you can get it.
Every man, woman and child in the British Isles should be very proud of these great heroes that we've created.
Look, they were on telly once, they were funny, all right? That's it.
And so, as we come to the close of a very special reunion,
look what I brought along.
There remains one final pleasure to perform together. A reprise of their classic end-of-show party piece.
Well, Macaulay.
The years just fall away.
Don't they just? And our cocktail tonight is a Fry and Laurie 30th anniversary special.
Oh, God.
It's just a handful of nostalgia. A little bit of rueful self-deprecation. A hint of senility. Not too much. Just enough. And lashings of laughs. I almost don't dare think what life would have been like if I had never met Hugh. I can't imagine how I could have had anything like the pleasure and fulfillment in life that I've had because of him.
Oh, he's not lost it. Right at the beginning, wherever that meeting took place, we made each other laugh.
He has lost it.
Yes, I lost it. Oh, dear. They don't make cocktail shakers like they used to.
And we continue to do that to this day.
Soupy twist.
Soupy twist.
And if you just can't get enough of them, then you can watch exclusive interview clips of Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie on our website, golaughdaily.co.uk. And coming up next on Gold, they're looking very fresh-faced indeed. Yes, it's their very first helping of a bit of Fry and Laurie, so put that remote control down.